It's sad. The older I get, the wiser I get, the more business savvy I get. I realize a lot of this stuff, the writing is on the wall years in advance. And it's unfortunate when people are celebrating and cheering and getting hyped for decisions now that they don't truly understand the repercussions later on. I think being a program manager has taught me a lot about business acumen and the quote unquote writing on the wall. We'll get into all that and more on today's video. But what I'd like you to do is subscribe to the channel. Do a lot of really good reviews on video games and gameplay videos and e-bikes now. It's kind of my new hobby. So if you're interested in any of all of those things, stick around, all right? So Microsoft is planning major layoffs coming soon. This was in Bloomberg. I wanted to quote the Bloomberg article, but it's behind a paywall, and it's really annoying. There's ways to get around it, but this is a good enough summary of it. But if you're interested, go give Bloomberg some money, I guess. I don't know. You can read about it there. Microsoft is planning to cut jobs in the company's Xbox gaming business as early as next week. First round of major layoffs is due soon. Really, the question is why? That's what you got to ask yourself. Why is this happening? What is going on? Well, I'll tell you. What's going on is we have a company in Microsoft that invested a significant amount of money in Game Pass and a significant amount of money in this ridiculous bidding war for Activision Blizzard. And now they got to pay the piper. So everybody was celebrating the release of the whole Game Pass thing and celebrating all these wonderful things that Activision Blizzard was going to bring to the table. Call of Duty is free. Oh my God, this is great. Those little coming soon to Xbox, people were making their own clip art showing like every Call of Duty game ever, which by the way never happened. People were cheering and celebrating, and Game Pass is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and look at all the wonderful things we're going to get. Well, this is now the other shoe dropping. This is how they pay for it. So a couple things as well. Microsoft already did a pretty massive layoff of over 6,000 cuts in May. And then they did another 300 this month. And then they're going to do even more. According to this article, in the past 18 months, Microsoft laid off 1,900 Activision and Blizzard employees in January. And then in May, they closed even more studios, including Tango and Arcane Austin, which breaks my heart because Arcane really was like my favorite studio until Redfall came along, at least. They laid off 650 Microsoft employees in September and 1,000 employees when they shut down the HoloLens and the Azure Cloud teams last year. So a couple things going on. Consolidation, number one. Businesses right now are trying to find ways to save money. We are in a pre-COVID environment. We are back to what I call business as usual. There are some people who still have the golden goose egg or whatever you want to call it, where they get to do full remote telework. And, I guess that's redundant. Is it telework remote? They get to do full telework. Their central office is closed down. They're fully remote. That's awesome for those people. For most of us, those days are over. Amazon just announced that they were going to displace up to 350,000 people because they're shutting down ancillary sites and forcing everybody back to work. Walmart just announced that they're shutting down self-checkout because they're losing too much money, and they're going to hire people to come back and run the registers again because too many people are stealing. So the trend of going away from the workplace, the decentralization of the workplace is over. And it's back to business as usual, butts and seats, okay? And Microsoft is no different. So they're consolidating, they're trimming the fat from their remote people. So a lot of these people probably have never stepped foot in Microsoft's headquarters. A lot of these people have probably never actually gone out to the site to Redmond, Washington, to kind of the main tech hubs to work. They're all remote ancillary. Their jobs are going to be cut. That's a big portion of them. They probably went through the same thing that Bungie went through when they were hiring people like me to work remotely. I think they decided they're not doing that anymore. That's part of it. Another big part of it is that right now, Microsoft is hurting on this is the Xbox thing. You've seen all these ads, right? And everybody probably saw the Xbox showcase where we saw Daddy Phil hold up the new Xbox handheld, right? The ROG Ally X. Okay, we saw this. It's coming. It's real, right? We saw Phil hold it. He was playing Balatro on it. How cool is that, right? This is a consolidation of hardware, and Microsoft is going to start porting everything over to a single digital store. So they probably had people who were hired for the Xbox store, and they probably had people that they hired to manage the Xbox console store, and then probably like the Windows storefront. They're going to merge those. So you just cut half of your team. Doesn't matter which one, or maybe you pick one of each. I don't know. But you don't need to have two different stores. You don't need to have two different user interfaces. You're going to merge everything into one. Microsoft had talked for a long time about leveraging their cloud-based system. Recall that when the Xbox Series X, or was it the Xbox One? I think it was the Xbox One when it came out. They talked about this data bank of servers, and they were going to basically have these games run off the cloud, right? Remember all that? Never really took off, did it? But all that computing power they did, they're trying to re-leverage it and re-host it, and this is part of that solution. So a lot of the people who work on more of the physical portion is gone, just in the same way that Microsoft pivoted away from the Microsoft Store, the physical storefront that they had. They shut all those jobs down. This is all to feed into the machine of the debt that Microsoft accumulated, which is a drop in the bucket for how much they make. But the gaming division does have to stand up and be profitable on its own. Just because the Office 365 division is pulling in trillions and trillions in profit, right? Well, at least billions in profit. I don't know if it's trillions at this point. It might be. It doesn't matter. The Xbox gaming division cannot be a loser. So they have to pay the piper. And that's how they do this. They're letting these people go. They're letting the storefronts go. They're morphing and merging together. If the ROG Ally X, for example, if this thing really takes off, right? What do you think Microsoft is going to do with the next generation console? Well, they're probably going to gut some of the team because they've already now have a team working on a console that was successful, right? And that's where Microsoft, I think, is failing. And I keep saying that Phil has to go. I've said this now, I don't know how many times. Phil has to go. This is what I'm talking about. This is the contradictory nature of what they are doing. They're cannibalizing themselves to spike themselves, to save themselves. They're standing up multiple things at once. They're telling you that your cell phone can be a console. And then they turn around and try to sell you a console. Well, you just told me my phone was a console, so what do I need to buy a console for? And they said, well, not only is your console a console, but now we're going to make a new handheld tablet in which that is a console. But that console is going to actually include all of your libraries, your Steam library, and your regular library. So don't buy anything from the Xbox console library. Just buy it from this one instead because it's not portable. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. And oh, by the way, we still have this massive debt from Activision Blizzard where we basically are going to buy out Activision Blizzard for $1 billion, right? So we're going to have to pay off that debt. All these companies, all these employees, they're going to have to be included in this somehow too. It's not good. It's just not good business. It doesn't make sense. You want to focus your resources on a single goal. You want to have a lean team to do it, a highly skilled team to do it that can manage multiple portfolios. I'm at work right now. I'm running 11 programs. I didn't think I'd be running 11 programs. When I started, they hired me. I was doing 2. I'm up to 11. Now, I will say I am not the best at running all 11, for sure. Things do fall through the cracks, but thankfully I have a team of very intelligent people who are helping me. And together we are making great progress on 11 different efforts. Now, all of those 11 efforts are closely aligned together. So I am reutilizing skills that I've learned from one effort on another effort, and I'm leveraging those teams and those partnerships that I have established with my industry partners. When Microsoft spends a lot of money on R&D on their Xbox console, they are the only OEM building it. They are the ones who own the design on it. They are the ones who own the factory on it. They're the only ones making the Elite controller. They're the only ones making the games. They're the only ones making the game boxes, et cetera, et cetera. When you then turn around and subsidize this Xbox vision out to Republic of Gamers and say, hey, you guys go out and build a technology. We're just going to basically bless off on it. And we're going to give you a small piece of our user interface and our API to utilize. We're going to give you an Xbox button to add on your controller, which is going to feed into our system. Well, do you turn around to the team that's working on your proprietary stuff and give them more money when you're going to have another company basically do it for you for pennies compared to what you do it on your own? It doesn't make sense. And why stop with ROG Ally? Why not have other companies compete? Why not sell the Microsoft's network, so to speak, and say, hey, companies, you manage it? Well, they did. This is an Xbox is exactly what that is. Your Apple tablet, your Android phone, they're all Xboxes. Your Windows PC is now an Xbox. So they've already done all that. So then turn around and then say, hey, we're going to continue to develop internally and invest internally on our own internal proprietary products is very counterintuitive. What does that mean? That means redundancy in your teams. Well, back to the layoffs. Doesn't it make sense now? I mean, I'm not happy about it, but this is what we're celebrating. We're cheering on Microsoft to make it easier than ever for you to play a console. You can play it anywhere. Any device that can connect to the internet can be an Xbox. Well, that means the people who are working on the other technologies probably aren't needed anymore. And when you release games that don't really perform well and move the needle, well, Microsoft isn't willing to invest in cultivating those studios. We've seen that. Even in games like Hi-Fi Rush that turn out to be media darlings and don't sell zillions of copies, they get shut down. Microsoft is looking for quick wins. They're not going to get them in the gaming sector. We've seen this. We just watched the showcase. While the showcase did have a lot of games, I don't think any of them are going to be Clara Obscura level media darlings that are going to sell 100 billion zillion copies. I think what we're going to end up seeing is Microsoft is releasing games. They're making a couple bucks and they're cutting those teams loose as fast as they can because it's a quick win and because that's how you move the bottom line. You don't move the bottom line by selling 1 million copies of a game. You move the bottom line by shutting down and laying off 6,000 people. That's how you move the line. That's how you pay that debt back. So again, Microsoft on every front, the hardware front, the software front, the development part, everything, they're cannibalizing themselves to get ahead. Eventually, the snake eating itself will eventually eat itself. There will be nothing left. And that's unfortunate, and that's what's happening at Microsoft. And that's why I and many others are so frustrated, and why when this Activision Blizzard sale was going on, and we saw the rate of money that Microsoft and the amount of money that Microsoft was willing to throw into this, we were all screaming, don't do it. Your debt is going to become too high. But I guess they thought it would be the nail in Sony's coffin, the nail in Nintendo's coffin. I'm not sure. It wasn't. It wasn't any of those things. It was a premature nail in their own coffin, because now they're behind the eight ball and now there's nothing they can do to make up that debt quickly except lay people off. And what does that do for the next generation? What does that do for the young college graduate who is looking to get into software development, who is looking to get into a career, a forever career, kind of like the one that I have now? I've been working at the same place for 15 years. Am I going to go work at Microsoft because of this? Well, I don't know. They're laying a lot of people off. Probably not. You're going to take that talent, if you are hell-bent on video games, you're going to take that talent elsewhere. It's not going to be to Microsoft. And that team and that camaraderie and that loyalty that you are going to instill in the young workforce is now gone. And that worries me, which again leads us back to this. So I said it before, I'll say it again. From a business perspective, a financial perspective, a program management perspective, a team lead, somebody who is responsible for ensuring my team is gainfully employed and working hard, this is not the way to do it. The morale has to be low at this point. People have to be worried. They have to know the writing's on the wall. The people that survived these massive cuts again and again and again and again are numb to it. They're not putting their full effort into it. They're looking for other jobs. They're not satisfied in what they're doing. And it shows in the quality of their work. They're distracted. They're not confident. The people who are there, the decision makers, the next generation of people who will be iconic, the names you know from game development in the past, the Mike Morheims of the future, right? These kinds of guys. They're not going to be forged in this crucible that has become Microsoft. They're not going to be. Because there's no stability. There's no incentive. There's no loyalty. Tango Gameworks makes one of the best games of the year. Their reward? Termination. So if that's your gold standard, well then anything below that is grounds for dismissal, which is clear. Because you're doing more cuts and more cuts and more cuts. I'm disappointed in all this. I'm disappointed in Phil. I've said this before. I'll say it again. He's got to go. Microsoft is in massive dire straits. They are spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. And every time you get these little quick wins, the new tablet, the game showcase, Gears coming to PlayStation, the new Halo game, new Halo management, a new Forza game, it's not something Microsoft is willing to back and hold their hat on. They're already jumping to the next thing because they've already determined it's not profitable. I think the worst thing that could have happened to Microsoft was that they allowed the Xbox community to kind of steer their decisions. And Phil's service plan for Microsoft in Game Pass has largely failed and destroyed what Game Pass was and what the idea of Microsoft was. He built something and then created a ticking time bomb to destroy it. It is really only a matter of time before Microsoft, the company, says they're done with Xbox. I thought it was going to be this console generation. Maybe they salvaged enough to do one more attempt. But we will very quickly enter a two-console race between PlayStation and Nintendo. And that's unfortunate because I want Xbox to drive competition to keep Sony honest. And they're not. They're not staying afloat. They're not staying responsible to themselves, to their shareholders, to their employees. And ultimately, they're going to dissolve. It's just a matter of time. All these things are leading to that. And it's sad because I used to be an Xbox guy. I really was. But it's very, very difficult for me to want to back anything this company does because I know that no matter what I invest and get into, it's not going to last. They're going to abandon it and move on to the next thing. And that is what they have done under Phil's leadership. And that is what they will continue to do under Phil's leadership. And it's sad and it sucks and it breaks my heart, but that's the reality of it. And this is just somebody who is very familiar with video gaming and with business talking. The writing is on the wall. When is it going to happen? I don't know. Next 3 to 5 years would be my best guess. I'd love to be wrong, but I'm not. If you found this video interesting and informative, please leave a comment below. I want to thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel. There's other good stuff on here. That's it for me. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.